I'm Olivia, 32. Female, I'd always been the fun aunt, the cool one, the one who actually sat on the floor during Christmas to help assemble dollhouses and remote-controlled dinosaurs while everyone else drank mulled wine and made small talk about HOA fees. My brother Mark, 35, and his wife Helen, 37, had 2 kids, Emma and Jack, and somewhere along the way I'd become this unofficial third parent. I didn't mind. I loved those kids. I showed up. I bought thoughtful gifts. I went to soccer games, even when it was 38 degrees and drizzling. I was the one who remembered their favorite snacks and their weird little obsessions, pirate ships for Jack, any book with a dragon for Emma. But the thing about being the fun aunt is that people start to believe that's all you are, a bonus accessory, a guest star in their family sitcom, not a whole person. The night everything cracked open, we were doing early Christmas dinner at my parents' place. Mom had made her usual overly salty ham, Dad was arguing about football with the TV, and Helen, my sister-in-law, was aggressively rearranging the appetizer table, like she was styling a magazine shoot. She'd always been intense, but lately she'd been leaning into this new identity as the mom who curates childhood memories, the kind who refers to her kids as her legacy. We were barely through appetizers when Helen cleared her throat with that tight, purposeful smile she uses when she's about to say something awful and pretend it's reasonable. So, Mark and I talked, she said, touching his arm like she needed moral support. And we've decided Christmas this year will just be for parents. I blinked. Parents? She nodded like it was self-explanatory. Yes, a special parents-only Christmas morning, to make memories while the grandparents are still with us. My mom gasped like someone had announced a gender reveal. Mark looked anywhere but at me. I laughed, too loudly, too confused. I thought we always did Christmas together. I mean, I'm usually the one who gets up early to help set up the presents under the tree. Helen's smile tightened further. Right. But this year, we want things to be intimate for our nuclear family. It's important for the kids to have those memories with their parents. You understand. You understand. Those 2 words felt like she slapped me with a lace-gloved hand, soft enough to claim innocence, cruel enough to bruise. She kept going. It's not personal, Olivia. It's just, well, Christmas morning is really a parent's moment. Since you're, since I'm, what? Childless? Incomplete? Extra?
Hey guys, real quick before we keep going, don't forget to sub and drop a like if you're enjoying the story. Thank you very much. Enjoy watching.
My mouth went dry. My chest felt like someone had dropped a stone into it. I looked at my brother who knew how much I loved those kids, how many times I'd babysat so he and Helen could have date nights, how many birthdays I'd helped plan. He wouldn't even meet my eyes. Oh, I managed. Yeah, sure. I get it. I didn't get it, not even a little, but everyone nodded like this was settled. Like the fun aunt could just be packed away like one of the ornaments. I left early, lied about a headache. They barely blinked. That night, I sat in my car in their driveway, staring at the soft glow of their Christmas lights, blue ones, the kind Emma said made the house look like Elsa's castle. I watched them blurred through my tears, thinking, I am good enough to raise your kids, but not good enough to be considered real family. I am a placeholder, not a person. And beneath all that hurt, something else stirred. Quiet at first, then sharp. A click inside me, a change. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment my entire life was about to turn. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Helen's voice again, soft, syrupy, and cutting. It's important for the kids to make memories with their parents. Translation, you don't count. By morning, the hurt had curdled into something heavier. Not anger yet, more like this raw ache in the center of my chest. I kept replaying every Christmas I'd been part of, the matching pajamas, the gluey hot chocolate, the way Emma used to fall asleep on my shoulder while Mark assembled toys at 1 a.m. And now, apparently, all those moments were irrelevant, replaceable, optional. My phone buzzed around 9 a.m. It was my mom, Gloria, 63. She never calls early, unless something's wrong. Sweetheart, she said, her voice too cautious, too careful. Mark told me you left upset last night. I swallowed. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. I wasn't fine, and she knew it. But she also wasn't going to take my side, not fully. My mom avoids conflict like it's a sport. Her silence last night had said everything. She hesitated. Helen, well, she just wants things a certain way. Right, I said. A way that doesn't include me. Olivia, now I need to go, Mom. I hung up before my voice cracked. An hour later, Mark texted. Mark, can we talk later? Helen thinks you took things the wrong way. I stared at the message for a solid minute. Not we said something hurtful and want to fix it. Not I'm sorry. Just Helen thinks you reacted incorrectly. I dropped my phone on the couch and said out loud. To no one. Of course she does. The thing is, Mark used to defend me. In college, he once told off a roommate who made a joke about me being single. But marriage had turned him into Helen's shadow, always following, never leading. He became predictable in an infuriating way. If Helen said the sky was green, Mark would ask, what shade? Around noon, after pacing my apartment until I wore a path into the carpet, my phone rang again. This time, it was Helen. I shouldn't have answered. She launched right in, sugary and insincere. Hi, Olivia. I just wanted to clear the air. I could tell you were feeling sensitive last night. Sensitive. The way she said it, like I was a temperamental toddler who needed redirecting, made my skin crawl. I wasn't sensitive, I said. I was hurt. She made a tiny, dismissive scoff. Well, I'm sorry you felt hurt, but you have to understand, Christmas morning is a magical time for parents. It's not really meant for extended family. Extended family. Me. The woman who had literally stayed up assembling a 4-story Barbie townhouse last year while she drank wine and fell asleep on the couch. You know, she continued, someday when you have kids of your own, you'll understand. That was the moment something in me snapped, because I'd heard insinuations before. Jokes at Thanksgiving about my biological clock, comments about my career being cute, questions about when I'd finally settled down. But this was different. This was her saying outright that my life, my entire existence, was incomplete without children. That my value in this family was conditional. I took a breath. Helen, you don't get to decide what makes my life meaningful. She went quiet, only for a second, then her voice hardened. I'm just being honest. We're parents now, Olivia. Things change. Priorities change. You can't expect to be at the center of everything forever. I felt heat climb my neck. I never asked to be the center. I asked to belong. She exhaled dramatically. Look, Olivia, we'll see you Christmas Eve, but Christmas morning is just for us. I hope you can be mature about this. She hung up before I could respond. I stood there, phone in my hand, heart pounding. My apartment felt too small, too quiet, too suffocating. Mature, sensitive, extended family. Every word heavy enough to bruise. I sank onto the floor, cross-legged, stunned, vibrating with hurt I didn't know what to do with. And sitting there, surrounded by the soft hum of my refrigerator and the faint smell of last night's laundry, a new emotion started to rise. Not sadness, not confusion, but anger, slow, steady, molten. The kind that doesn't explode, the kind that changes things. And I decided, right there on my living room floor, that if my family wanted to treat me like I didn't matter, then fine. I'd show them exactly what not mattering looked like, not out of spite, but out of survival. And maybe something else too, a spark, a whisper, a dare. What if I lived like I didn't need their approval at all? I didn't know it yet, but that flicker in my chest was the beginning of something huge, something that would shake my entire family by the time Christmas rolled around. And it started with a single thought. I deserve more than this. I didn't make any big decisions that day. I wasn't ready. I just floated through Saturday, like the air was thick with something I couldn't identify. Grief, maybe, or humiliation, or both tangled into something heavy and sour in my chest. But by Sunday morning, something inside me had sharpened. I woke up earlier than usual, made coffee, and sat at my kitchen island, scrolling through my phone, replaying Helen's words in my head, like a nasty voicemail, on loop. You're being sensitive. You can't expect to be at the center of everything. Christmas morning is for parents. You'll understand someday when you have kids. It stung more the longer I thought about it. Because this wasn't just one event. This was a pattern, a slow, subtle erosion of my place in the family. And I realized, probably for the first time, that Mark had let it happen, maybe even helped it happen, without realizing it. Around noon, my dad called. Dad never calls. He texts one-word phrases like okay or later or call mom. So my stomach tightened when I saw his name on my screen. Hey, Dad. He cleared his throat. Your mother's upset. Of course she was. About what? You left suddenly. Made things awkward. I laughed out loud. Short, sharp, unbelievable. I made things awkward? He sighed. Helen didn't mean anything by it. She's just protective. You know how mothers are. I gripped the edge of the counter so hard my knuckles went white. Protective of who? Her children? Or her control? Dad didn't answer for a moment. When he did, his voice was soft, cautious. Their parents live. You have to understand that things change when you have kids. My throat closed. Dad, do you think I'm less of a family member because I don't have children? Of course not, he said immediately. Too quickly. The kind of quick that means he hadn't thought about it until the question was asked. I hung up before he could make it worse. By evening, I'd heard from everyone except Mark, which somehow hurt the most. He finally texted at 9 p.m. Mark, can we get lunch tomorrow? I want to explain. Explain what? That he'd chosen convenience over me? That he'd chosen not to defend me, not even when Helen practically called me incomplete? I didn't answer. I turned off my phone instead. And then I did something small, but it felt seismic. I pulled my suitcase out of my closet and opened it on my bed. I didn't pack clothes. Not yet. But I unzipped it anyway, the sound loud in my quiet room, and something in me shifted. I didn't know what I was planning, just that I needed, movement. Escape. Air. I set the suitcase aside and walked into the living room. It still smelled faintly of evergreen, from a candle I'd burned the night before. My small pre-lit tree glowed softly in the corner, already feeling like a prop in a life that didn't fit anymore. I sat on the couch and whispered into the dim room, I deserve joy too. Then I opened my laptop, not with a plan, just curiosity. Thought about skipping Christmas entirely, driving to the coast, getting a cheap Airbnb somewhere warm. But the idea felt too small, too temporary, like a bandage over a bullet wound, so I scrolled. Florida? Nah, too predictable. Mexico? Maybe. But I wanted something bigger, somewhere that felt like a declaration. My cursor hovered over a bright ad at the top of the page, 10-day Caribbean holiday cruise, singles and solo travelers. Welcome, my heart thumped. A cruise, 10 days, sun, ocean, no expectations, no forced family roles, no Helen. I clicked. The photos were ridiculous. Gleaming pools, white sand so bright it looked fake. A massive ship decked out with lights and holiday decorations, people laughing at tables full of cocktails, dancing, swimming, living. My pulse started racing. I checked the dates. December 23rd, January 2nd. Exactly when my family would be gathered around their parents-only Christmas morning. The thought hit me like a spark in dry grass. I could be gone, not hiding, not licking wounds, living. I typed in my name, my birthday, my card number. When I pressed the final confirmation button, my breath caught. Then it exhaled in a shaky rush. I sat back, stunned, staring at the screen, flashing. Booking confirmed in cheerful blue letters. Somewhere deep inside, something unlatched. I felt it. Like a door opening. Like permission. I whispered to myself, okay, let's see who I am. Without them. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt a small flicker of excitement. A flicker that would soon set my entire family on fire. I didn't tell anyone about the cruise, not at first. It felt too fragile, like a secret I needed to hold tightly or it would dissolve under someone else's disapproval. So I went to work Monday acting like a normal human and not someone who had just thrown a grenade into her holiday plans. I answered emails, refilled my water bottle twice, nodded through a staff meeting. But every time my mind wandered, it drifted back to the image of that massive ship gliding across turquoise water. It felt unreal, in the best possible way. Still, reality had a way of clawing back. At 3 p.m., Mark texted again. Mark, Liv, please. Can we talk? Don't be like this. Don't be like this. Translation. Don't react to the thing we did to you. I stared at the message until my vision blurred. I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, he tried calling. I hit ignore. Then Helen called. I laughed, out loud, in my office cubicle. I ignored that too. When I got home, there were 14 unread messages from our family group text, my mom trying to mediate, my dad trying to sound reasonable, and one from Helen that made my blood pressure spike. Helen. I'm concerned about your behavior. Avoidance is childish. Let's be adults about this. Adults. This woman weaponized peppermint bark and called it parenting. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my suitcase and began actually packing this time. Sundresses, swimsuits, sandals. I hadn't worn in 2 summers because who has time to relax when you're constantly bending over backwards to prove your worth to people who don't see it? I even packed that deep green dress, the one I'd bought last year and never wore because Helen had once joked that it looked like something someone on a singles cruise would wear. So into the suitcase it went. Around 8:30 p.m., Mark showed up at my door. I saw him through the peephole and froze. For a moment I considered not answering. But something in me wanted closure. Or maybe I just wanted to look my brother in the eye and see if he could recognize what he'd become. When I opened the door, he looked exhausted. Liv, he said, stepping inside. Why are you shutting me out? I folded my arms. Because you didn't stand up for me. He rubbed the back of his neck. Come on. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. He exhaled heavily. Look, Helen didn't mean to hurt you. She just wants the kids to have a special memory. And I'm not part of that memory, I said flatly. Got it. He winced. It's not about excluding you. You literally excluded me. Silence pressed between us. He finally sank onto the edge of my couch. Liv. You know how Helen is. She gets in these moods. She wants things a certain way, and I'm trying to keep the peace. There it was. The truth I'd known all along. You're choosing peace with her at the cost of me, I said quietly. He didn't deny it. He just looked down at his hands. Look, he said, just come for Christmas Eve like normal, and Christmas afternoon. The kids will still see you. We're not cutting you off. I stared at him, feeling something inside me cool, then harden. I'm not going to Christmas this year, I said. His head snapped up. What do you mean? I made other plans. What plans? You don't get to know. He looked genuinely shocked. Liv, don't be dramatic. I laughed. Funny. Helen said the same thing. He stood abruptly. You're just proving her point. You're being emotional and impulsive. This isn't like you. No, I said. This is exactly like me. The real me. The me who's finally done begging to be seen. He stared at me for a long moment. The kids will ask for you. A small ache pierced my chest. Then maybe you should tell them the truth. That their aunt wasn't invited. That's not fair, he said, jaw tight. And what you did was? He didn't answer. He just shook his head, muttered something under his breath, and left. I stood in the doorway after he was gone, feeling both gutted and strangely steady. Like someone had sliced open a wound and stitched it closed in the same motion. My phone buzzed again. A new message, this one from my mom. Mom, honey, please don't make a scene. Let's all just get through Christmas peacefully. I stared at the words. There it was again. The unspoken rule I'd lived under for years. Keep quiet. Keep small. Keep the peace. I closed the message without replying. Then I finished packing. I printed my cruise itinerary, checked into the pre-cruise hotel, booked an airport shuttle, laid the green dress carefully on top of my clothes. And when I zipped the suitcase shut, I felt it all the way down to my bones. Something had shifted. Something irreversible. They had drawn a line. And I had finally stepped over it. What none of them knew, what none of them could even imagine, was that in just a few days, I wouldn't just be gone. I'd be free. And they would feel my absence so hard, it would rattle their perfect little Christmas from the inside out. Because for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't asking for a place in their family. I was choosing myself. I left for the airport before the sun even came up on December 23rd. My suitcase thumped behind me on the sidewalk, the wheels loud in the cold morning quiet. I half expected my phone to explode with calls the second I got in the rideshare, but it stayed eerily silent. Maybe they thought I was bluffing. Maybe they thought I'd come crawling back. Maybe they just weren't paying attention yet. I didn't care. For once, the silence felt like clean air. When my plane finally took off, lifting into pink morning clouds, I felt this wave of something wild and unfamiliar wash over me. Relief, fear, exhilaration, freedom. It tasted like all of them at once. By the time I stepped off the ship's gangway, later that afternoon, warm Caribbean air hitting my face like a welcome slap, I felt like someone had peeled the old version of me away. The ship was enormous, glittering, loud with music and laughter. Every few steps, someone tried to hand me a drink or point me toward a welcome party. I checked into my cabin, a surprisingly nice room with a balcony, and stood outside watching the coastline shrink as we sailed out. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. I felt untethered, and it was intoxicating. That night, I went to the solo traveler's mixer, partly out of curiosity, partly to prove to myself I wasn't some fragile, abandoned ornament of a person. And to my utter shock, people were friendly, warm, excited to be on this strange little floating world. I met Mia, 29, a veterinarian who ditched an overbearing boyfriend. Shauna, 40, divorced and celebrating her first Christmas without pretending. And Luca, 34, a chef from California traveling alone because he refused to wait for anyone to live his life. We talked for hours, laughing, swapping stories, drinking fruity cocktails with names like Midnight Coconut Kiss. No one asked why I didn't have kids. No one analyzed my worth. No one treated me like an accessory to someone else's family. I was just Olivia. At one point, Mia leaned toward me and said, "You have this weird glow about you, like someone who finally snapped and did something amazing." I laughed harder than I had in months. But while I was busy laughing, dancing, and soaking up my newfound independence, back home, the first cracks were forming. I didn't know it yet, not until I checked my phone the next morning, but my family was spiraling. Christmas Eve morning, my phone buzzed awake with a flood of notifications, all missed calls, texts, voicemails. The sheer number made my stomach sink. From Mom, "Olivia, please call me." From Dad, "We need to talk immediately." From Mark, "Where are you? Mom is freaking out. You didn't show up to breakfast. Are you playing games?" And then the kicker, from Helen, "This is incredibly immature. The kids are crying. If you wanted attention, you got it. Congratulations." I laughed, actually doubled over laughing, in my balcony chair. Because there it was, the truth in absolute clarity. They didn't miss me because they valued me. They missed me because they expected me to play a role, to show up, to perform, to make things smooth and magical for the kids while Helen hovered and directed, to be the reliable emotional support beam of their little Christmas temple. I wasn't there, and it shook them. Hard. My absence was louder than my presence ever was. I waited until noon to text back, just one message, nothing else. "Olivia, I'm on a cruise. I won't be home until after New Year's. Please respect my decision." 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed violently. Incoming call. "Mom," I hit ignore. Incoming call. Mark, ignore. Incoming call. Mom, ignore. Then a text from Mark. "You left? On Christmas?" Without telling anyone? The kids think something happened to you. This is cruel, Liv, seriously. But I wasn't falling for that guilt trap again. I set my phone face down on the bed, slipped into my swimsuit, and went up to the pool deck where the steel drums were playing, and someone handed me a drink that tasted like pineapple and rebellion. I spent the whole afternoon floating in turquoise water, sunlight warm on my face, not a single demand or expectation in sight. Later, at the sunset deck party, Mia clinked her glass against mine. "To choosing yourself," she said. "To not begging for scraps of love," Shauna added. "To the first holiday you didn't spend pretending," Luca finished. I raised my glass, feeling the weight of everything I'd left behind and everything I'd stepped into. "Cheers," I said. To finally being enough for myself. What I didn't know, what none of us could have predicted, was that my family's panic was just the beginning. Because the next thing they did? It would cross a line so hard, so shockingly intrusive, it would make everything that came before look tame. And it would set the stage for the sweetest revenge I never planned on enacting. Not yet. But they were about to hand me the perfect opportunity on a silver platter. By the time Christmas morning rolled around, I was so deep into cruise life that I barely remembered what day it was. My whole body smelled like sunscreen, and my hair had that permanent salty wave you only get from ocean wind and not giving a single damn. I woke up to sunshine spilling across my cabin, the ship rocking gently, and a small tray of pastries at my door, because Mia had left it there with a sticky note. Merry Christmas. Hope you slept like someone who owes no explanations. I laughed so hard, the note nearly floated off the tray. I made myself coffee, wrapped up in a soft robe, and watched the water glitter as the ship cruised toward some palm tree covered island whose name I'd already forgotten. I felt peaceful for the first time in maybe forever. And then I made the mistake of turning my phone on. It buzzed violently, as if it had been holding its breath since yesterday. 30 texts from Mom, 17 from Mark, 5 from Dad, 3 from Helen, 2 from numbers I didn't even recognize, and 3 voicemails from Mom that each started with, "Where are you?" and somehow ended with, "I just want you to be happy," like a roller coaster designed by someone who doesn't understand linear emotional logic. The text got progressively more frantic. "Mom, please call me. This is serious. I'm worried sick. Are you safe? Please answer, Olivia. Please." Then, "Dad, your mother's in tears. We need to talk." Then, "Mark, we had to tell the kids you're traveling. They're confused," followed by, "You should have warned us. We thought something happened to you. You could have at least told me. This is cruel, Liv. They were looking for you under the tree. Call me. Now." And then, Helen. Her tone was different, sharper, desperate, but still wrapped in that awful superiority she wore, like perfume. "Helen, I don't know what you're trying to prove, but you've ruined the kids' Christmas. You blindsided everyone. If you wanted to punish us, congratulations. You did. You owe us an explanation." Oh, I owed her. For what? Allowing me to be furniture in her curated, perfect family Christmas? I tossed my phone onto the bed and laughed out loud, an incredulous bark of disbelief. Mom, Dad, and Mark were panicking because they were used to me, cushioning every blow, smoothing every conflict, keeping everything functional. Helen was panicking because, for the first time, I was not available to validate her self-appointed authority. But none of that was the part that sent everything spiraling. The real chaos came in the next hour. I had barely finished breakfast when I got another string of messages, screenshots this time, sent by Mark. It took me a second to understand what I was looking at, because apparently, Helen had posted on Facebook a long, emotional, manipulative essay titled, "When Family Turns Selfish, a Christmas We'll Never Forget." She wrote about being abandoned, about a sister-in-law who disappeared for attention, about protecting her children from toxic influences, about childless adults who don't understand real family responsibilities. She didn't use my name. She didn't have to. Everyone knew who she meant. And the comments, oh my god, the comments were full of her friends validating her melodrama. She's always seemed unstable. You deserve better people around your kids. Some people never grow up. But there, buried among the comments, was the one that detonated everything. Helen's own cousin wrote, "Didn't you tell us yesterday that you uninvited her because she wouldn't understand? Why act like she abandoned you?" Oh, wow. The thread exploded. People demanded clarification. Some defended me. Others called Helen out. A few clearly knew the truth and started piecing it together publicly. And that's when the phone call came. Not from Mark, not from Mom, not from Dad, from Helen. FaceTime, not a chance. I declined. She called again, declined. Then came the text, "Helen, answer the phone, now. This is out of control. I need you to fix this. Fix this." I sat back in my balcony chair, toes up, sipping a cold drink with a pineapple slice, and I swear I could have floated off the ship from sheer disbelief alone. They wanted me quiet, present but silent, included but background, useful but invisible. And now that I wasn't there to clean up their mess, they wanted me to come running? Oh no, no more. I sent one text, polite, precise, and with a sting sharp enough to cut. "Olivia, I didn't cause this. You did. And I won't be fixing anything for you ever again." She responded immediately, "Helen, you're destroying this family." I stared at that message for a long time, feeling the sun warm my face, the ship humming beneath me, the air salty and sweet. And then I realized, for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't destroying anything. I was simply refusing to let them destroy me. That was the moment, right there on that balcony, that the revenge formed in my mind. Not the petty kind, not the dramatic kind, the kind that blooms quietly, the kind that isn't an act of violence or spite, the kind that is simply existence, thriving, visible, unafraid. A revenge that would make Helen unravel in the most poetic way possible. And it would begin sooner than any of them expected, because the cruise wasn't even halfway over, and neither was the storm coming for them. I wish I could say I spent the rest of Christmas Day obsessing over the drama unfolding back home, but honestly, I didn't. I spent it snorkeling with sea turtles, because while my phone kept buzzing, Mom panicking, Mark demanding explanations, Helen apparently melting down in real time, I was drifting through warm, turquoise water, weightless, watching a turtle glide past me, like it had zero interest in human problems. And something about that hit me deep, My family's chaos didn't own me anymore. Their expectations weren't oxygen. Their drama wasn't my job to absorb. I was finally, breathing my own air. But the sweet peace didn't last forever. Because later that evening, when the ship docked in St. Thomas and the sunset painted everything in molten gold, I got a text from Mark that made my stomach tighten. Mark, we're coming to your apartment. Mom wants to check if you're there. Where did you really go live? I blinked at the words. They were going to my home, without permission, without invitation. To check on me like I was a missing pet? I felt something cold crawl up my spine. My next text came from Mom. Mom, honey, we're outside your door. Please open up. I'm scared. I stared at the screen, stunned. Then another text, this one from Dad. Dad, your car's here, but you're not answering. We're calling the police for a welfare check. My heart dropped. A welfare check? They weren't worried. They were escalating, controlling, panicking because they'd lost their grip on me. And then the message that made the line snap completely. Helen, we told the kids you're traveling, but that's obviously not true. You need serious help. This disappearing act isn't normal. We're involving professionals. Professionals. As in mental health services. As in implying I was unstable. Just because I dared to live my own life for one damn holiday? I felt my chest heat with a slow, simmering fury. Not the explosive kind, but the type that settles deep and steady. The kind you can build something with. I typed back, Olivia. You need to leave my apartment. Right now. I'm traveling. I'm safe. If you involve police again, I will file a harassment report. 2 seconds later, Mark replied. Mark, you're being dramatic. We're trying to help. Help. My family had always labeled control as concern. This is for your own good. We just want the best for you. We're worried. But this time, they had crossed into territory none of us could pretend was okay. I didn't respond. Instead, I turned my phone off and went to dinner with my new friends from the Solo Travelers group. We grabbed seats at a long table, passed around plates of citrus salmon and buttered rolls, and laughed like we'd known each other for years. But as the night went on, something strange happened. The more I talked, the more I realized I wasn't telling the story like a victim. I was telling it like someone waking up, someone who finally saw the truth clearly. And the truth was ugly but liberating. My family didn't panic because they cared. They panicked because they lost control of me. They relied on my presence, my availability, my emotional labor. And now that I wasn't there, they were unraveling. It was Mia who said it first. She leaned across the table, chin propped in her hand, and said, You know what would really get under their skin? I expected a joke. Instead, she grinned and pointed at my untouched cocktail. Living well, publicly, I blinked. Meaning? Post everything, she said. Show them you're not lost, not broken, not apologizing. Show them you're thriving, loudly, happily, without them. Shanna lifted her glass. Happy people terrify controlling families. And Luca? He gave this little half smile and said, The loudest revenge is joy. Something inside me clicked, hard. My family, she had already weaponized social media against me through Helen's manipulative post. She painted me as unstable, selfish, inconsiderate, and people believed it. At least until her cousin exposed the truth. So why shouldn't I tell my truth? Not dramatically, not bitterly, not with a single word about them. Just joy. Real joy. My joy. A revenge not rooted in cruelty, but in freedom. So that night, standing on the deck with warm wind whipping my hair and the ship cutting across moonlit water, I took a picture. Just me. In the green dress Helen once ridiculed. Sunset behind me, glass of champagne in hand. Big, genuine smile. No captions, no context. Just a photo that said everything without saying a single thing. I posted it. And within minutes, my phone, still on silent, buzzed uncontrollably. They saw it. Of course they did. Helen, especially, saw it. Because the next message that came through, when I finally turned my phone on the next morning, was from her. And this time, she wasn't angry. She was unhinged. And about to do something so wildly unstable it would confirm everything she tried to paint onto me. And give me the final push I needed for the sweetest revenge yet. The kind they'd never see coming. And the kind they'd never forget. I woke up on December 28th to the loudest banging I'd heard since boarding the ship. Only it wasn't on my cabin door. It was my phone, buzzing, vibrating like it was possessed. Dozens, no, hundreds of messages. At the top of them all was one from Mark. Mark, live. Call me, it's Helen. She lost it. It's bad. My heart dropped. Not out of worry for her, but out of absolute certainty that she'd done something explosive and stupid. I scrolled. Then I saw Helen's message, a single, frantic block of text. Helen, I can't believe you posted that. You made me look crazy. People are asking questions. Do you know what you've done to my reputation? Answer me right now. Her meltdown wasn't surprising. What came next was a link to her own Facebook page. Against my better judgment, I clicked. And there it was. Helen had just gone on a full public tirade, live streaming from her minivan like some suburban influencer in crisis. Red-faced, ranting, shouting over the hum of her dashboard, AC. And she said my name. Not subtle, not implied. She said it outright. Olivia abandoned this family because she can't handle not being the center of attention. She doesn't understand the responsibilities of real adults. She ruined my children's Christmas. She's unstable and needs help. She went on, spiraling into this bizarre, dramatic monologue about ungrateful, childless women who think vacations are a personality, that family should come before selfish whims, and my personal favorite, how I weaponize social media to humiliate a mother. The comments section? A nightmare. People she knew were horrified. People she didn't know were laughing. Her own cousin, the same one who exposed her earlier, commented, "Girl, you uninvited her. Stop lying." And someone else wrote, "Why are you dragging your SAL by name? This makes you look unhinged." But the real kicker was a comment from someone I didn't expect. My mother. She wrote, "Helen, please take this down. This isn't appropriate." There it was. That tiny, stunning fracture in the perfect facade. Mom, who had spent years avoiding conflict, had finally hit her limit. Helen responded instantly, publicly, and loud. "You enabled her." Oh no. In one moment, she turned her meltdown from a rant about me into a direct attack on her mother-in-law. And that's when the dam finally broke. Because my dad chimed in next. "This is embarrassing. Take the video down." Then Mark. "Helen, stop." And then Helen, absolutely unraveling, typed, "None of you understand what it's like to be a mother. Olivia is just jealous." Jealous. That was the word that made everything snap into place. She didn't see me as a sister-in-law. She saw me as a threat to her control. A rival in a competition I never signed up for. And now? Her entire meltdown was public record. When I scrolled farther, I saw the final blow. Helen had accidentally revealed her location in the live stream. She had done the entire rant from the parking lot of my apartment building. She had driven to my home, without permission, again, looking for me. That alone was bad. But then she upped the ante in a way I could have never predicted. She panned the camera to my apartment door and screamed into the phone, "Open the door, Olivia! I know you're inside!" She pounded on it. Hard, over and over, like she had every right to my space, my safety, my life. People in the comments freaked out. Some told her to stop. Some told her she was trespassing. One person actually asked if she was having an episode. Then the absolute best moment happened. A neighbor, sweet old Mr. Adler from across the hall, opened his door and said, "Ma'am, she's not home, and you need to leave before I call the police." Helen screamed at him. At an elderly man. On camera. It lasted only 10 more seconds before Mark appeared, snatched the phone out of her hands, and shut off the live stream. I sat back in my balcony chair, stunned. The revenge. It had written itself. I didn't have to expose her. I didn't have to confront her. I didn't have to do anything except live my life. She destroyed her own credibility, her own reputation, her own perfect image. My silence had been the loudest answer. I didn't respond to any of their panicked texts that followed. Not on the cruise, not during the flight home, not even when my mom tearfully apologized over voicemail 2 days later, repeating, "We were wrong. We were so wrong." I didn't respond when Mark wrote, "Liv, I'm sorry. I should have defended you." And I definitely didn't respond when Helen sent this message. Helen, I'm embarrassed by how I acted. We all said things we didn't mean. Please don't hold this against the kids. They miss you. Oh, I bet they do. But this time, I didn't fold. I didn't soften. I didn't rush to smooth things over. Instead, I sent one final message. Clear, calm, liberating. Olivia, I love Emma and Jack, and I always will. But I won't be part of a family that only values me when I make things easier for them. I'm taking space, a lot of it. When you're ready to treat me with respect and honesty, you know how to reach me. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't cruel. It wasn't revenge in the sharp, satisfying sense. It was something much quieter, something stronger, boundaries. And if that was vengeance, then it was the sweetest I'd ever tasted. It's been weeks now. I still talk to Mia, Shauna, and Luca. I still wear the green dress sometimes, just because it makes me feel alive. I still keep that photo pinned to the top of my page. My family hasn't fully recovered. Helen has gone silent on Facebook. Mark has become apologetic and soft-spoken. Mom keeps asking when we can try again as a family. Maybe someday, maybe, but only on my terms. Only when they understand the truth they should have known all along. I wasn't missing from their Christmas. They were missing from my life. And I finally stopped waiting for an invitation to belong. That's the real ending. Not the cruise, not the meltdown, not even the fallout. The real ending is this. I came home knowing I'm enough. And I'm never giving that away again.